Say about the turmoil caused by the euro, but it's another stellar member of the Enlightenment who's remembered this week. It's 300 years since the birth of David Hume, thought by many as the greatest philosopher to write in English. But as devotees from around the world meet in Edinburgh to celebrate him, Derek Bateman wonders if Hume is another of those Scots who falls just below the national radar.
August 29, 1776 was a dark day in Scotland. The life of one of our greatest intellects was snuffed out and his remains interred.
I have always considered him, both in his lifetime and since his death, as approaching as nearly to the idea of a perfectly and virtuous man as perhaps the frailty of human life will permit.
For the giants of the Enlightenment, of which David Hume was one, it was time to take stock of a revolutionary philosopher who challenged organised religion in an age of unthinking belief, who transformed the history of Britain into a bestseller and inspired, among others, Charles Darwin and James Boswell. Hume's views were atheistic, although he never declared himself a non-believer. He said we understood the world through feelings, not external diktat. Heresy was punishable by law, and the Church of Scotland tried to excommunicate him. One of his early works was published anonymously, and he was rejected for academic posts by both Edinburgh and Glasgow universities. Yet it's a sign of his contemporary popularity and his prestige that his mausoleum was designed by the architectural giant of the age, Robert Adam. Like his reputation, Hume's Romanesque tomb here in the old Carlton burying ground in Edinburgh is largely forgotten today. Revered by students and devotees, certainly, but this is no Burns, Bruce, Scott or Wallace of popular imagination. And yet a wider audience would surely benefit from learning of a Scot whose influence was truly global and to many is still relevant today. Hume may have been the shooting star of Enlightenment Edinburgh, but there was already a whole solar system of intellect to be found amid the vennels and courts of the old town, with its clubs and houses filled with debate, and sustained by the best educated peasant class anywhere, and the first free lending libraries in the world.
Ah, Mr. Hume. Come in, Davy. You're in time, just in time, to join our discussion. The role of the female sex in modern life.
This is Hume's autobiography. It's probably the shortest autobiography of a great man in the English language, and it's...
The National Library of Scotland has the most complete collection of his writings.
I am, or rather was, for that is the style I must now use in speaking of myself, which emboldens me the more to speak my sentiments. I was, I say...
Academics from around the globe are in Edinburgh to continue the arguments that raged in the back alleys of Edinburgh 300 years ago. If not all of Scotland understands Hume's contribution, they certainly do.
You think about what he has to say about where human action originates, what he has to say about the origin of morality, which he says actually originates inside of us, inside when we pay attention to our sentiments, that we don't just pay attention to reason when we act. Yes, so I think it would have an effect on persons if they take Hume seriously, insofar as they think of them, they would pay more attention to the passionate side of human life.
The ideas haven't dated at all, I think. In fact, we could probably do with a bit more of Hume's thinking on imagination and his putting imagination at the heart of the way we respond to life. We've perhaps become almost too ideas-driven, rational in some respects, and we neglect other parts of our lives and the things that really drive us and motivate us, like pleasure, for example.
Hume was a philosopher in the largest sense of the world. He was interested in the world of his time, the world outside, the study, the lecture theatre. He thought hard about business and commerce, and he had serious and pessimistic things to say about, for example, national debt and the political consequences of national debt and how indebtedness can compromise a nation's institutions and its freedom. So he seems to me to have things to say directly relevant to, you know, the situation of European countries right now.
His story may lack the blood, thunder and romance of other heroes, but Hume offers us a different vision of the old nation, one of thought and insight, which if popularised today could be just as uplifting.
It was Gary Bateman.